To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's going on? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for Atroz, aka Atrocious. Written by Sergio Tello and Lex Ortega, and directed by Ortega, Atroz stars all of these lot. While examining a traffic accident where a woman was badly hurt, the unorthodox police commander finds proof of even more gruesome facts and decides to deal out vengeful justice. How's it going, my lovely little lot of literal lunatics? I'm back in the UK and honestly feeling super depressed. So what would be the best way to cheer myself up out of the pitch black depths of despair I currently find myself in? Yet another August Underground ripoff? Sure, why not? Atroz is an independent horror movie from Mexico that, from what I've read, takes the formula of serial killers filming their crimes and does something original with it. Originality and low-budget underground extreme horror? I know. This is another one I know literally nothing about, but it's been requested quite a few times by you lot, so I'm trusting you, okay? You've never led me astray with your choices before, have you? Nah, I'm totally confident this is gonna rock. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you, you can see this video completely uncut and early at patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons for as little as $2 a month. There we've got a massive library of nearly all the reviews completely uncut, plus the slasher comic crypt and the Discord. And the podcast when Calvin actually gets round to watching the film. I know you got kids, mate, but you're not the first person to have kids. People who have kids can still watch films. You block-headed, rock-looking And seeing as the New York fundraiser went so well, we've got a new one going, this time to upgrade the studio. A lot of you aren't aware, but I actually use my phone to film these videos and edit on a laptop that's basically held together with tape. After 2 years of struggling along, I'm finally going to upgrade to a proper editing PC and a dedicated camera. Not only would this gear up the quality of the videos massively, but also allow me the opportunity to finally start streaming online. I've been wanting to stream horror games for a while, and for those of you after more content, you'll be able to find it at twitch.tv/Jonjo Lyons, and a second channel I'm going to start on YouTube called like Jonjo Lyons Streams or something. If you want to help me achieve this goal, please go to gofundme.com/the big studio upgrade. I should have called it Evil Gets an Upgrade for the Jason X reference, but I didn't think of that until after, so. Thank you so much for the continued support. I would ask my parents for help, but I haven't spoken to my mum in years, and the things my dad wants me to do for money, I'm not really up for. And finally, I just want to thank Zach Amico for having me on his podcast, Zach Amico's Midnight Spook Show. Not only was walking around New York City a dream on its own, but I got to meet some awesome people and have a new appreciation for just how hard podcasting is. I've watched it back and you can't really tell in the video, but I was fucking terrified. I also got to meet the production team at Gas Digital, which was super awesome. They're lovely people, and I got to meet Luis J. Gomez and Big J. Okerson. When Jay walked away, I shouted after him that he was an inspiration, like a If you want to watch the podcast, you can find the link in the description and the pinned comment along with all the other links. Please go over there, comment something nice about me, and then sub to Zach's channel. I would really love to see him hit 10k subs, so go and do it now, please. Just now. I'll wait. Yeah? Have you done it? But anyway, after that super long intro, I'm in the mood for some snarky serial killer monologues, so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to see if murderers are made or molded by the unending horrors of this beyond recognition world. This is Atroz. The movie begins with body cam footage of the police response to some sort of issue, then to various shots of the city the film takes place in. We hear a voiceover asking us if we want them to fix the current situation peacefully or hang up the phone and break into our home. We see more shots of the streets, then cut to this, which reads 98% of the 27,500 murders in Mexico are unsolved. Cut to multiple shots of homeless people in general poverty, where every now and again we see a production credit spray painted on a wall, which is something I like right off the bat. Nicely creative. We end on this shot of the city as the sun rises and we get our title card. Cut to a wholesome quote from Rudy Giuliani, a bloody foot, and then to this man being arrested. Looking around, we see a car has crashed and someone under a tarp has been killed. Next, we meet the main cop of the film as he gets out of his car and asks this officer for an update as to what's going on. It seems the two men were drunk driving and splattered the girl under the tarp. He asks if she has ID so she can be identified, but the officer says no. The cop then takes a look around, lifting the tarp that covers the girl's face. She's dead. Son of a bitch. He then asks if the men have IDs and is handed them by the officer, which when he reads he seems to get pretty excited about before dropping it and asking if the car's been checked yet. The officer says they're waiting on CSI, but the main cop says F that and goes to take a look for himself, discovering a video camera. In the police car, one of the men, Goyo, wakes the other, Gordo, and tells him they're f***ed. The officer continues his search, finding a gun, and then presses play on the camera. Cut to various shots of the cameraman out and about when he settles on this woman saying to himself he knows it was her. Cut to Goyo in the car telling Gordo how to work the camera. Gordo asks why he's so interested in this woman and Goyo responds asking if he wants to help him or not. Gordo says yes and they pull up to where the woman waits. We then cut to another shot as the men find her on her corner. They make jokes about her being a man when she's picked up by a customer and they decide to come back tomorrow. Cut to the men filming themselves as one of them sets up the camera and then back to the night as they attempt to find the woman again. They spot her talking to another customer and getting in his car, which they follow. We then cut to them dragging her out of the car and waking her up. Here we see the woman is tied to a chair with a pretty gnarly looking hole in her leg. They look through her purse, finding a gimp mask inside, which one of them puts on to mock her. The other man finds a gun in the purse and then comments that the camera is running out of battery. The camera dies and when we cut back we get our first staple of extreme horror cinema, someone vomiting.
No mames, ¿qué le hiciste? No le hice nada, pendejo, se cagó la pendeja.
Yummy. It appears the woman has shit herself, so the cameraman scoops a bit up and rubs it on the woman's leg and then into her wound. Her leg wound, not her axe wound. They then rub it on her face and boobs. Gimp Mask then puts some of the shit to his mouth when the cameraman complains saying he ain't gonna film him f***ing her. Some friend you are. This kind of selfish behavior is why me and Jacob Lewis aren't friends anymore. Well, that and his exploded penis. He kept trying to make me look at it. Did the surgery work? Jonjo, does it look normal? No! And it's never gonna look normal. The sooner you accept it, the sooner you can move on with your life. Please, Jacob, put away your mutilated penis. The woman gets rude and catches more punishment before Gimp Mask cuts away at her top and exposes her breast before going inside. The static dies out and we see the Gimp has turned the woman's breast into some sort of flesh pocket, which he digs his hand into. Practical and sexy. He then pulls what looks like nail polish remover out of the purse and pours it into her open wound, which looks pretty painful. Gimp asks the woman if she likes before offering up his own and having a quick tinkle on her. Cut to Gimp asking for a lighter and then to the woman who's now severely burned. And it's then we get, in my opinion, the film's first seriously impressive shot. Fist person view? Cut to the men as Gordo worries that the woman will recognize them. He then complains that they're still recording before shooting the woman to death.
¿Qué pedo, güey?
One of the killers takes the camera and we see what's left of their victim. Cut back to the cop as he shuts the camera and gets out of the car, then to the murderers being beaten. And here we get our second staple of the genre, fingernail removal. Gross. But if someone ends up a dead body in this movie, we're gonna get all of the top 3. The men then pick Gordo up and dunk him in the water, asking where the body is and where they killed him. Gordo gets dunked again when in walks the main cop. He asks his colleagues if the men have confessed and they say they won't. The cop seems pleased by this, as he says that means they'll get to talk more intimately. The killer asks why they want to find the man so much, accusing him of shagging the bloke, but the cop ain't having that shit and decides to refresh the man's memory. Oh, I was expecting a bit more than that. There we go. The murderer finally gives up the body's location and the cop heads out while telling his mates to keep interrogating them. Cut to the police breaking into this place. The CSI tech comments on the men confessing and then takes a picture as they gain access and head inside the apartment. They look around a bit, finding the chair the woman was killed in, and the CSI takes a blood and hair sample. The CSI then notices something, and that's when the cops find another tape. Oh, sweet! We have a quick look at the people in the background when the lady on the pole comes for a tip. Hey, Pickle, I'll give you more than the tip. You can have the shaft and the too. I'll stuff it all in like a Christmas hamper. The cameraman then takes a walk requesting a dance from her. Cut to the dancers, the cameraman says he wants to fuck her and she offers $100 with room included. Which is somehow still more expensive than your mother. She then tells him she's on her period, but it's almost over and the man says let's go. Because yeah, of course, period sex is the best. When you pull out and a few chunky bits come along for the ride. What's this bloody clump on the end of my penis? Like a gift from heaven itself. Cut to as the man wipes period blood on the woman and pops it in his mouth. Cut to the man waiting outside the club as he sees the woman leaving. He tells her he wants to bang again, but she says she just wants to go to bed and suggests he instead take her out to eat and hang out another day. The man agrees and she gets in the car. Cut to this blue screen and then to the bar where the man asks where Jenny is. The barman says she's working at another club and the man leaves as we cut to the couple having sexy times. She puts lipstick on him and gets him to wear her bra when we see him doing this with cling film. We then see the man getting his d sucked. I really must call your mum. When Jenny asks if he likes it. He says he does and offers her to try the suffocation thing, which she agrees to. Cut to more kissing when the man moves down south and asks if she's still on her period. Well, this took a f***ing turn. The man says he liked her, that they got on, and then takes a knife to her ham sandwich. And then f***s her, obviously. The tape ends and we cut to another angle as Gordo enters the room. They take a closer look at her body before cutting her face off and peeling it down. Gordo asks if she's a good sucker and we cut back to the CSI investigating. They find another VHS tape and we cut to prison as Goyo is led down a hall in cuffs. They then enter the office of the main cop.
¿Tú sabías que el sueño de tu mamá era que su primer hijo fuera mujer? Pero pues llegaste tú. Y supongo que ahí empezó todo, ¿no? Golpes, humillaciones, malos tratos, bla 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 bla.
The cop says the man could have stopped his urges, sought help, but he didn't. He decided to make his own way, to have control. He reads one of the man's statements saying his mother would humiliate him to the neighbors by exposing his dirty sheets.
Yo dudo mucho que seas una víctima. Eres un pinche error de la naturaleza.
He then presents the newest VHS to the man, which makes him look worried.
Como a mí me viene valiendo verga lo que a ti te gusta, ¿no? Te lo voy a poner. Hoy me levanté con ganas de revivir tus demonios.
Jesus Christ, if the killer's looking worried, I wonder what the fuck's on the tape. Let's see it.
¿Qué miras, güey? La tele.
Cut to this fella searching someone's room. He calls for his wife who enters and they discuss in a nice wholesome way how to deal with the fact that they just found gay literature in the son's sock drawer.
Porque yo no tengo hijos putos.
No digas eso.
No, y tú pensando que se queda en la escuela a hacer trabajos. Seguro se la pasa mame y mame vergas el cabrón.
Él no hace esas cosas.
Oh dear. Cut to father and son picking up a sex worker, with the son getting the goods but not looking super up for it. We cut again to after the fact, with the sex worker saying it isn't her fault the brother couldn't get a hard on.
¿Ni eso sabes hacer bien? Madre.
Cut to the boy's bedroom where the father beats him. The father calls mum once again, asking her to bring the gifts to the doll, and she enters with a box. Dad tells son to open it as mum takes the camera, and they shout at the daughter to go to her room. Inside the box is a wig, a dildo, and high heels, which the father taunts the boy with, eventually telling him to undress. The father then strips him and savagely rips him with a dildo. Which I guess is like catching your kids smoking and then making them smoke the whole pack of cigarettes. That's a bad analogy. That scene finally ends, and we move on to the father kicking the son out into the street and watching him walk away. Cut to the POV of someone looking through a house for something. They find some money in one of the drawers, and we cut to the son buying a gun from this fella. Cut to the son cutting some barbed wire and approaching this American guy who he robs then shoots in the head. Cut to him dropping this powder in the home coffee. We then see the son's collection of goodies before watching him start to wrap the barbed wire around the dildo. Well, Cut to the kitchen as the son enters and the father demands his coffee. The mother delivers and dad continues with the abuse when we cut to the main event.
Ya se está despertando.
Dad decides to keep chatting so for that catches a gun butt to the head, and that's when son hands mother dearest the barbed wire dildo. He then makes her f the dad. And the best part, ladies and gentlemen, the best part is when we cut to the dildo POV and watch it absolutely tear the dad's arsehole to shreds. I know he's not a very nice man or whatever, but I do hope he got to before his prostate got turned into mincemeat. Mum then gets off and is knocked out when we get a good look at dad's bloody underwear and balls. And if all that wasn't enough, we then cut to the son removing the dad's Good lord. Cut to the son admiring his work when we see he's removed his mother's and sewn them onto dad after giving her his dangly bits. The son then starts kissing the sister, which is gross. Cut to the siblings getting all flirty with each other when the son says he wishes dad could see this. Sister tells him he's not here anymore and then they bang! At least tries to, but the son doesn't get hard.
Es que me distraje.
Ay, no mames. Ni que estuvieras en la escuela.
I mean, it has been like 2 seconds, babe. You want to give the bloke a chance. Swill it around in your mouth a bit and see if that does anything. She then starts to taunt her brother, who she just saw savagely murder their parents, and gets her throat slashed for the trouble. And he then fucks her dead body. Check it out, the big three are officially covered. Good on you, movie. I'm proud of you. Cut back to the interrogation room as the cop stops the tape. He says control makes the killer happy, but he doesn't think he's ever known happiness. He then asks what he felt when he cut his sister's throat, only getting a smile back.
Fue tu mayor excitación, tu clímax.
He says his pleasure is hurting them, then shows him a picture of Gordo who's just hung himself. The man is shown more pictures of dead bodies but says he didn't do this. He didn't kill them. The cop gives the man a cigarette and asks him if he has any clue who did that, but again the man says no. He then says this.
Al final no eres tan especial. Eres solo un pinche experimento.
The cop then reveals the woman the man killed at the start was his brother, lover, someone important. He says he doesn't hold grudges though and brought him a surprise. And then there's a very special guest brought into the room.
No la mataste, pendejo.
Wait, the sister isn't dead? That means he didn't f a dead body. I feel cheated. It's then revealed the sister killed the people in the pictures and they both were part of the cop's social cleansing project. The cop then uncuffs sister, hands her a box cutter and leaves them alone to their family reunion as the film cuts to black. The end! Well, I was really enjoying this movie until I realised that the main character didn't actually f a corpse, so 0 stars! Atroz is a movie I went into with the lowest expectations after Sunken Danish a few weeks ago. I've seen quite a few of these August Underground-ish, follow the killer through found footage type movies, and I have to say, I think this might be one of the best. That being said, the story, as usually is the case, is pretty lacking here. We start with two men being apprehended after running someone over, and inside the car, the cops find a videotape of one of their murders. After further investigation at the murderer's residence, more tapes are found, including one detailing the killer's origin. Then finally, at the end, we have the twist that the woman victim at the start was the cop's brother, the sister is still alive and will now presumably kill the killer. Fine. While we do get more information about the killer, which is pretty rare in this subgenre, it's the structure of the story that doesn't quite make sense to me. The son's murder of the father is definitely a climax worthy of a film's ending, but just felt weird to happen when it did. I kind of feel like that should have been a middle of the film development with another crazy scene to end with, like the sister actually fighting the brother to the death in the interrogation room. Then there's the suggestion at the end that the brother and sister were subjects of the detective's project or something. Honestly, I'm not sure. Really, what we get here is a 3-death film where in the last 10 minutes they dump a bunch of information in the hopes of pulling together some sort of interesting narrative, and in that regard, I'm not sure they're very successful. Where they do have more success is in the performances. The main actor playing Goyo is pretty fucking menacing in both his quiet and loud moments. His sidekick Gordo is fine enough, and their victims are both convincing. The best performances for me, though, come from the final tape as we see the family and the killer's origin. I don't know if it's because the material was so harrowing in this section, but the actors all do extremely well and I was transfixed throughout. In terms of the gore, this film was a massive step up from Sunken Danish, but still not as good as the OG August Underground movies. Gunshots don't seem to be something they were able to pull off in camera, but the mutilations all look pretty fucking awesome. The POV barbed wire was obviously the highlight, as was the forced gender swap of the mother and father. Sick stuff. Presentation-wise, I really enjoyed how Atroz tried to get creative with the POV shots and the editing. Every other aspect was at the level you'd expect from one of these movies, but those few creative camera moves set it apart from the crowd. You could tell the filmmakers were attempting to add flair to a well-worn story, and at the very least, you've got to respect them for that. In the end, Atroz is a great little independent horror that takes a common narrative and tries something new. Not as new as I was led to believe, but still, it's something. As usual, I could have done with more death, but the 3 major moments we get, 4 if you count the American, all satisfied my bloodlust for the most part. If you're looking for another found footage movie from the point of view of the serial killer, I'd have to recommend Atroz, as it not only fits into the subgenre perfectly, but also to my shock manages to be a quality film all on its own. So that was my review for Atroz. What do you lot think? All jokes aside, this has got to be one of the best August Underground rip-offs I've ever seen. Some might say this movie is better than all 3 of those movies combined. If only for the fact that we got to see the homophobic father with a barbed wire dildo by the mother who's being held at gunpoint by the son. F***ing hell. With a camera on it no less, turning that brother's arsehole into hamburger meat. Speaking of which, if you want to see up close the inside of a man's torn up arsehole completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. There you can find the uncut version of this review plus others with more stuff being added all the time. We got the uncut reviews, Patreon exclusive reviews, slasher comic breakdowns and the Discord. Not to mention all the amazing stuff that's going to be coming to Patreon as soon as we get the setup upgraded. And all that can be yours for as little as $2 a month. You can pledge more, I really appreciate it, but don't. Go over to gofundme.com/the big studio upgrade. Like I said, with this upgrade you're going to see a massive jump in the quality of the videos plus the game streaming, so if you want to see the channel take that next step, go over there and donate now. That's gofundme.com/the big studio upgrade. I'll be adding perks to certain donation limits over the next week, so to stay informed about that, either donate there or follow me at instagram.com/Jonjo Lyons reviews. I never plug my Instagram. Go over there. And lastly, just a massive thank you to everyone that contributed to the New York fundraiser. It really was quite an emotional experience having you lot come out and help me realize a dream, and I just can't thank you enough. For the people that qualified for the perks from that fundraiser, I'll be getting in touch this week, so look out for an email. I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment, and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and that dad, while he may be penisless and dying, I'll tell you one thing he's not. Constipated.